1 week ago, the SCRS Ferrari Challenge took on Daytona International Speedway in their first return to Sim TV after a long multi-month hiatus. This week, the season continues. It's round number 2 of SCRS Ferrari Challenge, this time from a super speedway of road courses in upstate New York, Watkins Glen International, Wine Country Finian. A beautiful evening here in Watkins Glen tonight, 3.4-mile racetrack. Tonight, 3 races, each 15 minutes long, 25 drivers contesting for victory. Going to be a fun one tonight.
It really is, especially for the second race season. Last week at Daytona, we saw some great action all throughout the field, really close racing amongst a whole plethora of drivers, a whole bunch of different names up and through the order. But coming out of round number 1, it's Eric Mickey in the lead over Kirk Crump. And the interesting thing about that is that both those drivers actually are on probation after last week. Eric Mickey has a 1-race probation and Kirk Crump 3-race probation from the incidents occurring, but those two guys still at the top of the standings.
So, 3 15-minute races this evening, and again, how they're graded. First race is done by qualifying. The second race is ordered by how you finished in race 1. Race 3 rather, is by the finishing order, the points average from the first 2 races. So there's a lot on the line tonight in terms of continuing the points climb, because it's easy to make them up early when everyone's still kind of getting used to it. One of the drivers I thought really would come out and surprise us was Paul Darling. He had some trouble last week at Daytona. This week, though, curious to see what he can do in his number 155. So qualifying is underway right now. We'll take you down to the racetrack and we'll show you the rest of qualifying. 7 minutes remaining in this session because it just got started. But before we really get settled in too much here, Finney, let's take a look at the track we're contesting on tonight. 3.4 miles around Watkins Glen International, and it's a long one. 11 corners around here. Your first straightaway down a hill towards turn number 1, affectionately known as the 90. In this car, a third gear right-hander out over the edge of the curbing, and you're heading up the hill in turns 2, 3, and 4 through the S's.
Yeah, heading up through the S's is going to be very important, setting it up right. As you see there, the elevation popping up through the hill and then getting through the gears, and you got to make sure you get a good run off of turn 1 because that affects your entire run down the back straightaway and into probably one of the most famous parts of this track, the bus stop.
The bus stop chicane, the inner loop, whatever you want to call it. It's a passing opportunity. It's albeit a very sketchy one. You get the job done here. It's a right, left, left, right, then through to the carousel, downhill in turn 5 to a sharp off-camber left-hander. That's turn number 6, leads you down into what's called the boot section.
Yeah.
The toe of the boot down in turn 7, a 180-degree uphill corner.
And the boot, probably the most technical part of this track, technical section of this track. Only done usually in sports car racing like we are doing tonight, and then heading down to turn 8 and turn 9. A lot of guys end up getting caught off guard just due to the braking and a lot of the corners being kind of off camber or really not having any at all.
And then turns 10 and 11. 10's really the only true left-hander here at speed. Turn 6 are kind of on the brakes, but turn 10 rather is a pretty wild left-hander at speed. Don't drop your wheels off course at corner exit. You will have a very bad time. Turn 11 finishes up the lap to turn onto the front straightaway. So that's a lap of Watkins Glen International. Take you back down to the racetrack for qualifying, and we've already got some laps in on the timing and scoring, and Paul Darling quickly jumps to the top. I think tonight this is the driver to beat now. I think this is more of his element this week than Daytona last week.
Yeah, we saw him really just struggling under heavy braking in this car, and I think, for anyone coming from slower machinery that he typically drives, I think that was a big change for him, but so far so good, looking really good in qualifying. Up 0.7 of a second over Paul Van Loan in the 113 in second place.
Jeff Arroyo in the 233 has been really impressive, not only in this series, but also in the Grid Life iRacers League, where he just competed with this car last night, 2 nights ago at Mosport. So he's already got some practice in this car this week, so he'll be good tonight. Carter Kundinger in the 02, kind of had a up and down week last week, had the Goldilocks race in race number 3. Had a poor finish, a great finish, and one right up the middle. So Carter Kundinger looking to have a much better night all around. Jonathan DeCouger, one of the championship contenders of the past, sharing a team with Arroyo. He's currently 6th in qualifying.
See where some of these guys come to the order. I'm also looking at Eric Mickey down in 10th place currently after showing some phenomenal pace at Daytona. We'll see here if they can complete a lap. I expect to see him further up the order.
Yeah, and last week, were we even surprised at the pace of Eric and Andrew Mickey? Because in the past, they've competed in this series for a long time, and they were drivers that would kind of run, in the top 10, but we're not really contending for victories on a weekly basis. But last week, Eric and Andrew were incredibly fast, right now 10th and 17th, respectively. So some work to do with those 2 drivers in qualifying. As always, SCRS Ferrari Challenge is brought to you by Penguin RC Simulation, premium sim racing hardware, and additional parts and pieces for your sim rig, so make sure you check them out. Link is in the video description. We appreciate their continued support.
And if I'm not mistaken, they've also announced 2 new additions.
I don't know anything about that, so if you got information on it.
That's about as much information as I got. I definitely know they announced some new stuff that they got on there. Really good equipment, so yeah, definitely go check them out.
Peter Vostrel in the 404 making his way around, and first sector of 27.154. That first sector gets you to really the top of the S's. And his best time right now is a 1:47.032, which is about 2.5 seconds off Carl Darling's 1:44.706. So there's a lot of drivers chasing that 155 right now.
And speaking of Carl Darling, the only driver to dip under a minute 45 on the time sheets, everyone else higher than that.
And you see, you know where he's making up that time. You see the sector time, not a whole lot different than Peter Vostrel, but where he's making it up is in the boot section. That's, as you mentioned before, it's the technical area on this racetrack. It's a lot narrower, a lot more, requires the driver to really be precise to get it right. And that's where Darling is really good. We saw last week, Daytona's not a track where you have to be all that precise. There's plenty of room out there, and he struggled to keep pace because it's just balls out all the time there, trying to make up speed. A little bit more finesse this week. Thomas Fredericks in the 15. He's just up the road, and currently 13th in qualifying. Jonathan DeCouger jumps up to second. Paul Van Loo bumped to third. And Robert Rattray in the 33 at the top of the SNL. It's right on board here through the inner loop, which is a very fun section. Finian, fourth gear, or maybe down to third if you're a little bit slower.
Look at Rattray as he's getting down deep on the brakes. Look, he's going to keep it in fourth. No, down to third. Getting back on their good run through that section.
And ride the inside curb through the carousel. And NASCAR continues right. We're going to go straight tonight into the boot section down towards turn 6. And left-hander. And a little bit of a late apex here. Perfect line for Rattray on corner exit. Jump on the curb and now down to the toe of the boot. And this car's under compression here, so it'll turn in. But getting the exit right, you can commit so early because the car weighs more than it typically would because of how much it's pressing down into the pavement. So you got a little extra rotation. You can commit to throttle pretty early here.
He actually is on the slide on his tires as he was trying to get on the accelerator again in the toe of the boot. Now coming back off, now onto the Cup course. I have version 1. Yeah, you have the new version.
For those that are watching the behind-the-scenes stream, we broadcast all of our races with a behind-the-scenes stream, so you can watch us push and pull the buttons. And that is only available to members. Start after the race is over, so you'll get to watch it for free. Then only available to members rookie and above after the race completes. But we're showing up at the different kinds of hoodies. We also have the SimTV store coming up this week. Finally got everything listed on there, and there's pictures and everything. We just got to get the shipping situation sorted out so you don't get overcharged for shipping. But that'll be up this weekend, and you guys can get yourself some SimTV gear. So, Jonathan DeCouger, second best in qualifying, but still a half a second back from Darling. Tonight's going to be really hard to beat that 155.
Yeah, I'm looking at Kirk Crum. He was able to sneak his way up inside the top 5 in the later part of qualifying.
A couple teammates working together here, but they're going to... this is open qualifying, so they will get to complete this lap. That's Drew Lidke in the 21.
Yeah, Lidke, I'm pretty surprised, was our AM champion a few seasons back.
Yeah, didn't have a great round at Daytona, and I do expect better this week, but 15th in qualifying, and that's not going to jump him up a whole lot, up to 14th. There's some work to do there, too.
Looking at anyone else that's still on the track, Roy is still up there in 6th.
A little wide at the exit of turn 5. He's going to actually... Nope, he's back. Zach Hefner in the 51. Hey, he had some pretty good races last week. Currently 7th in qualifying. Good, strong run for him. Yeah, Robert Elder in 9th.
Yeah, and Hefner actually sitting in, he's sitting tied for 3rd, actually, with T. Algate in the points. So, he's, I mean, again, we were talking about Hefner had a fairly quiet week in last round and didn't make a whole lot of noise. Was running inside the top 5 and earned some really good points.
So, the other thing I'm taking a look at, Finian, is the time of day. Let's take a look at our track conditions. It's 7 o'clock p.m. here, and the sun is setting, so it's going to get dark out here. How much is that? This track is not lit very well. How much is that going to affect the drivers tonight?
I think if anything, these guys would have to be worried about glare really coming off the sun. I think in the final corners is definitely where it's really bad. That's from experience. We were messing around. I was messing around in VR. We were doing some fun laps here, And the sun was glaring in my eye. It was completely blinding me in the final corners. I think the sun's low enough, though, in the sky that I don't think that'll be an effect. When it comes to night, I don't think we'll go that far into the nighttime, so I don't think visibility will be that bad for these guys.
Qualifying order across the top of your screen. Still a couple drivers out there that could upset that order, but Carter Kundinger comes across the line, and 145.674. It was a hair better, but not enough to jump him up in front of Zachary Hefner in 7th. And I think he's the last driver on the racetrack. Brennan Blackford pulling into pit lane. So Paul Darling in the 155 is on pole with a 144.706, half a second up from the next quickest driver. I'm going to hedge my bets on Darling tonight. He's going to be tough to beat.
Yeah, I think he knows that he has a lot to make up for coming from the last round. He's currently 15 points. Obviously, again, we only ran 1 round, 3 races, so still a season. Very much young. This is, again, a good chance for him to make back a lot of points, especially considering the gap in qualifying, if he can keep that up.
So while we're waiting for the session to tick over here, I'll remind you that SimTV's got a membership program. If you're not aware of it, there's a join button right next to the subscribe button, which if you have not hit, please do. The join button gives you an option to support us at 3 different levels, and there's all sorts of cool things. And if you're a member at the top level for 2 months, you get a free SimTV snapback hat, and those are about to ship out to the first round of people in the next couple of weeks, so very excited about that. Other things, Decal is the next level down from that after 2 months of membership. You also get access to some behind-the-scenes content as well, so check that out. If you're not subscribed, please do so. Make sure you join us. We stream 5 to 7 days a week, depending on our schedule. You can find all that information on simtvbroadcasting.com. Link in the description. All right, time to go racing and gridding up for tonight's action. 25 drivers, another really good, strong field tonight. And this racetrack, as Daytona was also very fast. Draft was a big deal. But the starts, last week they were relatively clean. This week we head down to the 90. What are your thoughts and concerns on the first corner here at Watkins Glen?
I think it's definitely going to be chaotic, especially with these guys on a rolling start. Some guys might try to time it to perfection, and they might try to get runs on each other. So we could see some 3-wide action going to turn 1. Which is when it starts to get a little bit sketchy, especially when some guys try to utilize the apron off of turn 1, and then coming back into the course thing is also where we see a lot of incidents, so guys got to be careful with that.
So with that, let's roll through our starting lineup here tonight. On the front row, it's going, well, that's the wrong graphic. On the front row, it's going to be Paul Darling in the 155. He'll be joined by Jonathan DeCouger on the outside lane in his number 39. That's row number 1 tonight.
Moving on back to row 2, we got Paul Lone in the 113. He's going to be starting in 3rd place next to Kurt Crum in the 7 in 4th.
In row number 3, starting in 5th place this evening, Robert Rattray in the number 33. That's that kind of dazzle silver and black car in the middle of your screen. Jeff Royan in the 233 rolls off 6th.
Moving on back into 7, Zachary Hefner going to be starting in the 57. And next to him in 8th place is going to be Carter Kundinger in the 02.
In position number 11 or 9 tonight, I was reading the wrong thing. Robert Elder in the 117. Eric Mickey in the 88 rolls off 10th tonight. Has a little bit of work to do to get up where he was last week.
And moving on back into 11th place, you got Thomas Fredericks, his first start of the season tonight next to Cesar Correa in the 11th car.
Teague Algie in the 13 and Drew Lidke in 14th tonight. Rolls off in his number 21 car in row number 7.
Going back to row 8, we got Brian Sohn in the 03, who's going to be lining up to Andrew Mickey in the 86th and 16th down the order. He's going to have a lot of work to do to make up positions.
Brian Shabelsky in the number 12 rolls off 17th in row number 9, and Ray Huang in the number 6, 18th tonight in his vehicle, back in row number 9.
Running out in top 20 is going to be John Stuplich in the 76 car, and next to him, Peter Vosserl in the 404 in 20th.
Couple more rows, 21st place tonight. Jonathan Rodriguez in the 27, Brandon Blackford in the 013. He rolls off 22nd this evening.
And moving one row behind them in 23rd.
There are a couple more rows they didn't decide to show. One driver that's way, way back in SCRS history, Daniel Manzano in the 987. Back when first season of SCRS Ferrari Challenge hit SimTV. Manzano was around, was away for a couple seasons. He's back now. Good to see him back. Through the bus stop, the next time we'll be coming through here. We'll be at full speed in 3rd gear. And again, a very good passing opportunity, but you have to get a little bit greedy to get the job done down there. Then into the carousel. Banked, 12 degrees of banking through here, downhill. On a 20-foot drop, and then on corner X, you're going to head down to turn number 6. Everyone's waiting for the opportunity to pass down here, but it's also a little bit worrying because of how sharp this corner can be.
You really can. These guys have to be careful, especially on the first lap, too, when they're all still fighting for position. Some guys definitely will try to chuck it in there, and especially on colder tires, might end up looping it around. In the middle field, we've seen quite a few guys do that when we come here in recent weeks.
One last look at our track conditions before we get rolling tonight. 77 in the air, 79 on the racetrack, wind miles, 8 miles an hour out of the west. Partly cloudy skies, and time here, Finian, pretty late in New York Eastern time. So, through the boot. Last week in the DC region SCCA, they were here with Skip Barber cars, and it seemed like the consensus, and this was true when Grid Life came to Watkins Glen as well, it seemed like if you're going to make a pass on the last lap, you got to have it done in the bus stop. After that, it's really not, you're able to pass, but you got to be a lot better than the guy in front of you.
And you also have to be pretty close to him, pretty much bumper to bumper at that point to try and make some sort of pass.
Field rolling through the exit of the boot, rejoining the short course here, where NASCAR cuts through to make the lap 2.45 instead of 3.4. Paul Darling in command of this race. Time to go racing. 15 minutes, thrice tonight. Darling in that yellow and black 155 is going to lead the field out of turn number 11 and begin the run down to the 90. The famous right-hand corner. Green flag flies, and we're racing in upstate New York at Watkins Glen. Pretty orderly start as we make it down through the corner. A little bit of three-wide action midfield, but so far so good as we head towards the S's.
Yeah, that was Andrew Mickey on the outside, but it's going to be Darling leading them up the S's for the first time. The Cougs settling to second, and still some ongoing battles down through the order.
Riding on board Ray Huang right now as we head down towards the bus stop. And again, your passing opportunities here are all over the place. You just got to be careful not to get yourself into trouble the first time through. Darling leads the way behind him. Nice and even grouping and no trouble so far. Excellent race start by these drivers. They're going to have to do this twice more tonight. And race 1 typically is the cleanest of the 3.
Yeah, we'll definitely keep an eye and see if there are any more incidents down the order heading down into the boot for the first time.
Still very clean, orderly start. Jeff Royan in the 233. He started in 6th. Hasn't been able to go anywhere, but he's hounding Carter Kundinger in the 02 right in front of him. That's that red car. Robert Rattray in the 33, hugging the curb on the inside. Maybe he'll have something for Royan as they head towards the heel of the boot behind him.
Hefner making a pass on Robert Rattray.
Yeah,
maybe he's inside going to have a look, but it looks like Rattray's going to get the spot.
On the outside. Up front, Darling leads by 0.7 of a second, still side by side. This is for 7th spot. Rattray on the inside, Hefner on the outside, and looks like Rattray's going to hang on.
We're going to finish our first lap here. It looks like not a single car is involved in an incident at all.
Really, really impressive start. Paul Darling leads them down, complete lap number 1, as the rest of the field finishes the lap. Now, turn 1, a great passing zone here, but with cars with ABS, it's so hard to gain an advantage on somebody in this particular area of the racetrack. Vinny, talk to me about that. When you're racing a stock car around here, you know, you don't have ABS, so there's a lot more brake modulation. These cars, you're just going to the floor. How much does that affect being able to pass at a track like this?
Yeah, it definitely makes it a lot harder to do, and I think a lot of you guys are going to opt to, as we're looking at Hefner now, I think try to make a pass on the back straight or use the draft to their advantage and make a move into the bus stop. We saw Hefner go over the back of the 33, but not able to make the pass. He's going to stay in behind another lap.
Nice orderly start. There was a little bit of frustration last week. A couple drivers ended up with penalties walking out of Daytona, but so far everyone's done a spectacular job at the start of this one, and Darling just scooting away behind, though, Ray Huang. He's off the track a little bit in turn 5 and has maybe a slowdown to serve.
Yeah, I think definitely has a slowdown. He's letting a few drivers on by.
And let's see if we can take a look. Oh, yeah, just lost grip in the middle of the bus stop and slid out over the exit curb, and that'll do it. He'll have to drop down to 20th.
And lost 4 positions, and it looks like he's trying to make it back up. And just look at Brandon Blackford working on Jonathan Rodriguez. Battle for 21st place.
Battle's going on all over the racetrack right now. Trying to take you to the closest ones. We'll head back up to 7th because Rattray and Hefner are not done yet, and they're losing touch with 6th place Jeff Arroyan, so you have to think that Hefner is feeling a little bit of urgency right now.
Yeah, I think he knows that he's a little bit faster than Rattray, but just can't get on by him. Although now he's even starting to drift a little bit further back from Rattray.
Up front, Darling continues to lead, but for second, DeCoudre's got it. Paul Van Loan a little bit wide at corner exit. This is legal. They went over this in the pre-race that the exit runoff at turn 1 is legal, but once you go out over the edge of that curb, it's your responsibility to come on back. And how about, I think that's Kurt Crum in the 7, putting pressure on Paul Van Loan.
And he gave up a lot of time going wide like that. And you can see Kurt Crum trying to make up from that and trying to build up a drive, build up a run till have a look up the inside, gonna make contact with Van Loan, and he goes sliding through the bus stop. More contact. I think Kundinger's also around.
Yeah, Kundinger's going right back into traffic and up and over is Kundinger into the tire barrier. And that went from a very small incident to a very big one very fast. Paul Van Loan, the victim of this one. And Crum already has a penalty coming into the night, Finney, and he's already on probation or whatever they're calling that. And here's another look. This is certainly going to be on him, his responsibility. And he actually got Kundinger as well, completely separately, and he slid back across the track and gets clobbered by, I think that was that the 51 of Hefner?
Yeah, it was.
So in one fell swoop, 2 drivers destroyed off the bumper of Kurt Crum, so there's certainly going to be another penalty potentially applied for that, and Hefner's car is destroyed.
It looks like, I mean, it's all right, not completely bad. It's definitely going to be facing some bodywork and aero damage to that car.
Now, Paul Van Loan, surprisingly, has very little damage to his race car, but the damage has been done in terms of the track position he's lost. He is exiting the boot. Paul Darling is already at the start-finish line.
On the bright side for Van Loan, he'll reverse the race order. As long as he finishes this race, no matter where he is, he's definitely going to be more towards the back end of it. He should be finding himself in at least a top 5 starting spot in race number 2, so not the end of the world for the 113 car.
Climbing up the S's again, you see the sun setting in the background. Up to the top of the hill, and a great run for Robert Rattray on Kurt Crum. He keeps running wide at the exit of turn 1, and I don't think that that's faster. Oh, excuse me, Arroyan. I don't think that that's faster to run out wide there, but drivers will keep doing it because if it feels faster, you're going to do it.
He's going to have a look side by side with Kurt Crum into the bus stop. Looks like Arroyan's going to back out, and here comes Robert Rattray into the picture.
Behind, Andrew Mickey and Zach Hefner have traded spots. Of course, Hefner nursing. Oh, no! Horrible crash for, I think that's Teague Algie. Oh, man, more drivers involved, and right back across the track, clipping Blackford. And he's going to go around into the tire. And again, this is the bus stop, typical Watkins Glen bus stop situation. But he just gets loose on the curb, into the tires, and just he rolls right here. He should have been on the brakes there, but everywhere else it was just kind of bad timing. A couple drivers trying to miss it. Teammates feel bad for Blackford. He just kind of came into that and had nowhere to go. So for how quickly, he's got big damage too. The race started very, very clean, and by lap 3, we started to lose some drivers to a little bit of silliness towards the back. But Paul Darling is just checking out Finney. Is he going to be the one to beat in race 2 and race 3, or is it too chaotic to know?
I don't know about race 2, if he's going to be able to navigate through the pack up to the front. That's going to be a pretty tall order to do in 15 minutes. We've seen most of the leaders.
Watch this replay. At corner exit. Oh, man!
Yeah, that's flirting with the wall. That's
Kurt Crum.
Yeah.
Was in that car.
Kurt Kundinger just got sideways out of the final corner as they were pulling away from that.
I think he might have... Kundinger? I don't think that was who that was.
Some red car.
Either way. A couple drivers hitting pit lane. Stuplich in the 76.
That might have been Jonathan Rodriguez.
Could have been. Purple car.
Stuplich?
Don't know.
Some red car.
Crum holding up a train for 3rd place. Arroyan, Rattray, Eric Mickey in this group. And Mickey's having a good day from 10th to 6th and a great climb. Look at how beautiful that is. My goodness.
And he's trying to build up a run now on these guys in front. I mean, I'm amazed that he was able to move up as much as he did. I thought he would have been further down the order, but it seems the qualifying pace was just not with the 88, but definitely has the race pace for it.
And that's what's going to matter, especially when we get to race 2, because there's no qualifying now. Race 2 is set invert race 1 finish. So we're going to put the slowest guys at the front, fastest guys at the back, and do another 15-minute run. And Jeff Arroyan chasing Kurt Crum into the braking zone, a little bit late on the brakes. Might give up a touch of exit speed here.
Yeah, let's stay on Arroyan out through the final few corners of the lap, and the sun has actually come out. I think it was actually hiding behind a few clouds, so it was looking like it was kind of had set already. But coming through this corner in particular, I think is going to be a little bit blinding for some of these guys.
Yeah, certainly. Wow. That is absolutely gorgeous.
Especially if you're in VR. It probably isn't as bad if you're just on a regular monitor, but in VR you literally cannot see.
Yeah. And we know a lot of these guys are in VR. I don't know exactly which ones, but there is a significant portion of this field that is using virtual reality, which significantly impedes your vision when you have solar events like that over the horizon. Andrew Mickey in the 86 has also climbed up 6 spots from his starting position. And he just needs some consistency back. This is a good way to do it. Run top 10.
Still looking at that battle for third place, I think is one of the closest battles on the track. Arroyan's still not been able to get by Kurt Crum. Arroyan dealing with Rattray and Eric Mickey.
Hunting for that apex through the carousel, now down into turn 6, and these drivers are very evenly matched. Last time by, it was only a 10th different between Crum and Arroyan. Crum's best lap, 145.641. For Arroyan, a 145.663. That's pretty close. But he's knocking on the door and ready to make a move.
He's got a good run out of the toe of the boot. I just don't think it's enough to really make a move now into the heel of the boot.
He might take a look into the braking zone and he'll stay in behind. And I'm a little bit surprised by that because sometimes when you're following the driver in front of you in the lap before, you almost run into him. You're almost inclined to offset yourself a little bit just to make sure that your braking points don't have a conflict. And I was a little bit surprised to see him stay in line there, but he's still kind of sizing up Crum and maybe waiting for him to make a mistake.
I think that could also be a strategy. I think is to force the 7 into a mistake, force him into an error, and that way you can get the spot easily.
Field beginning to spread out a little bit, but Paul Darling has absolutely checked out. 4 seconds up the road. Here's a look from the S's at how big that lead really is.
Here comes Darling, and there finally comes Jakush into the frame. And even he's got a sizable gap over Kurt Crum and Arroyan as they come up through the S now.
And behind him, Robert Rattray and Eric Mickey. You see Arroyan taking a look to driver's left. That's an interesting place to try to make a move. I'm not sure how much that's going to work out here as they head towards the bus stop.
I think he's trying to get that run off the corner just a little bit to try to help him get more alongside the 7, but you see him having to back out yet again.
Mickey and Rattray kind of doing the same dance behind. That's for 5th.
Mickey not able to get a spot. He's trying to fight for a top 5 here.
And Crum running a little bit wide on corner exit. Arroyan taking a look out to driver's left to get into the mirrors of the 7. And that's really a distraction tactic, is to just pull out so that they don't have you in the rear view. They have to look off of their side mirrors, and now you're distracting them from paying attention where they should be going.
Very a little bit wide in the toe of the boot. Now here comes Eric Mickey. I don't think close enough to make the run. I'm surprised that Mickey has been struggling behind Rattray.
Yeah,
I would have thought he would make quick work of them.
Do you think there was any aerodynamic push to consider around here? I mean, this is kind of a downforce track.
I think definitely through some of these corners, but especially when you're right up and behind someone, you're definitely going to be feeling some of that air wash. Nowhere near as much in some open wheel cars, but definitely still in effect.
Yeah, the open wheel cars really exacerbate that effect. Maybe not so much in the full body cars, but still enough to be a consideration. So, Crum stretches out a little bit on Arroyan through the final corner. Rattray and Mickey, same deal. And everyone else is fairly spread out. Andrew Mickey's got a rear bumper full of Drew Lidke as they head onto the front straight, and Lidke might take a look down here into turn 1. Another good passing zone, but you have to be real brave because the zone is very short with these cars. Here he goes.
He's going to have to pull out to try to outbrake Eric Mickey or maybe make him make a mistake.
Andrew Mickey in the 86.
Oh, Andrew Mickey. That's what
Whoa,
I'm saying.
and he had to back out of it because he ran out over the course. So this is one thing we had to consider.
Oh, yeah.
Is if you run out over the edge of the track, you're not guaranteed to be able to get back on. So
no,
he ran out wide.
I don't think he was doing that. I think he was trying to avoid a 1X.
That could be. But
remember,
either way,
they only have 7 before they have to get a drive-through, so I think he was trying to avoid that.
Yeah, and again, that could certainly be it, and he had to brake, and that was actually well done to not just force his way back on track and get himself another incident from running into cars. So well played out, and Mickey will drop a spot and save the incident point. And Crum and Royan continue their fight. 1:40 left. Next time by will be white flag here in our first race of 3 tonight.
Curious what Royan's going to do here coming to the last lap and a half of this race. I imagine he's going to be getting a little bit desperate for that spot.
Yeah, he's going to start maybe throwing some lunges in. And again, when you have ABS brakes, when you get to the ABS, that's all you got power-wise. So you can't, you're in trouble. If you hit the brakes and you're not braking enough, it's going to be a bad time. So you have to plan this out carefully because it's so difficult to outbrake somebody in a GT3 car. White flag for Paul Darling up the road. 1 minute remaining in this race.
Royan's kind of, I'm not sure if he's doing this on purpose, but a gap forming in between him and Kurt Crum.
You almost think that might be on purpose because Crum's been blowing turn 1 so badly that he's building a run here. Let's actually just ride on board with Royan through turn 1 and just watch the progress here. So Crum's overslowed a little bit more than what he's done lately. And actually kind of messed up a Royan strategy here, didn't it?
He's a little bit too far back to even try to attempt to pass now into the bus stop. I'll definitely close the gap back up behind them. Eric Mickey's gone past Portray for 5th place.
Pass complete. So Darling's through the bus stop, DeCougier's in, and Crum and Royan nose to tail into the inner loop. Eric Mickey and Rattray, I don't think this is done either. Rattray a lot better line through the bus stop, but had to back out because Mickey was in the way.
I think Mickey just trying to hit his lines and hit his mark so that way he doesn't get a 1X. Late in the race, not sure where he's standing on that.
Into the boot for the final time. And down towards the toe, Royan within feet of Kurt Crum, but unable to do anything with him.
So very few passing opportunities left, if any.
He's been a little bit better at this end and down towards turn 8, but it's going to have to be a heck of a lunge. He might have a look here. This is his last realistic opportunity and not close enough. He might just have to finish in behind.
See if he can muster up something here. As our leaders are coming through the final few corners, here comes Paul Darling. Wow. Absolute dominant performance from the 155.
Yeah, Paul Darling absolutely destroyed the field in race 1, but it's going to look a little bit different for race number 2. So he exits turn number 11. He'll pick up the first checkered flag of the night. Paul Darling wins at Watkins Glen. Behind him, Jonathan DeCougier started his night in 2nd place. He'll maintain 2nd and come on home in P2. Crum and Royan, exactly how we thought. Mickey and Rattray were able to trade to that position on the last lap, and Eric Mickey will get a 5th out of his 10th starting position tonight.
And right behind them, Robert Elder, Thomas Fredericks in his first start, solid 8th place. Cesar Correa and Drew Lidke will round out your top 10.
Ooh, Andrew Mickey and Brian Sohn, a little bit of a drag race to the line there. Andrew Mickey will get it by a 1/10 of a second. And the rest of the field finishing on through. Daniel Manzano and Jonathan Rodriguez. This is for position. Oh, car off!
I think it was a lap car.
Ray Huang in the number 6. He's off in turn 10. This is a really challenging corner for a lot of different reasons, but looking at this, surprised that he went off the way he did.
Yeah, I think he missed the corner there.
And usually how you go off here is you drag a tire off the curb and you spin out that way, but a bit of a lazy loop for Ray Huang, but he's in and finished.
Yeah.
So with that, we'll take you to the unofficial race results. And what I'm most curious about is Kurt Crum. Already had a warning and penalty points applied for contact and carnage last week. And it's going to be a little bit harsher this time around, I'd imagine.
You have to see what the penalty is going to imply. It could be points, could be suspension. I don't think it would be a suspension.
I don't think it'll escalate that quickly, that fast, but it's going to be bigger.
Yeah, I think you definitely might end up looking at potentially a points deduction, which is unfortunate because he's fighting Eric Mickey and would be leading over him if he does get a penalty. So we'll have to see about that after the race.
Now let's let this results run through one more time. Jeff Royan, a strong run for him. He'll finish 4th. Eric Mickey, really, really impressed with Mickey's pace. I'd say he's probably one of my favorites for race 2. Drew Lidke also up to 10th after his later starting position.
And this is where I'm a bit concerned for Paul Darling, trying to get past everyone because he's got a lot of cars to get through. I think actually really my favorite, I think, looking at race number 2, I'm trying to find where he is. Who is it?
Teague Algie?
Yeah.
Paul Van Loon.
Yes, Paul Van Loon.
He finished 16th in this race, ended up getting kind of knocked out of P3. and he'll end up 16th in race 1. So he'll start approximately 8th or 9th in race number 2, depending on how many drivers show up. We'll be back in just a couple minutes, so stay with us. We'll be back for race 2. Hang tight.
Would you like to have a career in racing, and if so, what would you like to do, Dale?
Well, I want to be a race car driver someday. That's, it's all I've ever known, racing.
What did you want to be when you grew up? So many people live a life of what if. Go to school. Go to college. Get a 9-to-5. This is how we support our dreams. With a safety net. Because we're unsure about taking a leap of faith. Because we're afraid. As we grow, we cross things off our list of dreams. We cut them down, make them realistic. Having control of things is reassuring. But for some, the rush of being out of control is what gives them life. Some say racing cars is reckless. Maybe they're right. Out of bounds isn't just cheating, it's cheating death. Football fields made up in seconds. Decisions made in instants. For the people that climb behind the wheel of these cars, they're not driving it. They become part of it. It's an extension of the body. As a child, I looked up to these people, faces hidden by helmets. The less you saw of the driver, the more believable it became that they were, in fact, just part of the machine. It's easy to forget that inside the cockpit is someone just like us, but with the mindset that fear is a motivation, not a barrier. But the reality is, race car drivers are not like us. They never cross anything off their list of dreams. They just keep writing more. Daytona.
This is the finish of the Daytona 500. Side by side.
Le Mans. Indianapolis. Monaco. Places that used to be just places, now international symbols of victory. To those that enjoy the spectacle of racing, the 2 feet of concrete and steel cables are a wall between us and them, between sitting in the grandstands and standing in victory lane. These same walls are a stark, immovable reminder that racing drivers put their lives on the line for the sake of the thrill and entertainment. Despite the risk, despite the heartbreak,
Oh my gosh!
despite the cost. There are some on the sidelines who are fascinated by the danger. They are fascinated by speed, fascinated by the undying desire to be just a little bit better. Their dreams erased by geography, finances, or the lack of a famous last name. There are some who once wished to be a race car driver, but aren't, because they didn't get the chance. And they thought they'd spend the rest of their lives watching their heroes on television, or from the other side of the fence. They thought it was impossible to climb into a race car, so they crossed it off their list. But it's not impossible. There is a ticket to the other side of the fence. For those who want it bad enough, this is your chance.
Welcome back live to Watkins Glen International in Watkins Glen, New York. My name's Kyle Heyer, joined by Finney DeCuna for race number 2 here of SCRS Ferrari Challenge. Round 2, race 2. Finney, we're going to invert the field after the race 1 result. It puts race winner Paul Darling all the way at the tail for this race. Expectations, thoughts? Who you got winning this thing?
Honestly, I would be surprised if Paul Darling did win this race. I do expect him to definitely finish in the top 10, if not top 5. I just cannot quite see him getting all the way up through the order. One driver I do think that might be able to pull it off is this driver right here, Paul Van Loon in the 113, currently 4th in practice as we get ready to start the race session. But he's looking pretty quick. I mean, I had that incident was running up inside the top 5 until an incident with Kurt Crum in the first race, so he's definitely, I think, going to be out there to avenge his poor finish.
So, some unofficial discussion was that it was deemed that Paul Van Loon might have moved over in the braking zone, which kind of nullifies Kurt Crum's pass attempt that ended up a little bit messy. So I'm not really sure if we'll see an addendum to the penalty that we saw last week for Kurt Crum, but we'll see how that all works out. Teague Alge ended up crashed in race number 1. He's looking for a bit of redemption, and it jumps up to 8th in the timing and scoring here in the warm-up period. Peter Vostrol in the 404, didn't see a whole lot of him towards the front of the field in race 1. We'll see if he can rebound and potentially jump up.
Yeah, had a decent run at Daytona, not so much in the first race at Watkins Glen. We'll see if the field invert will do him any favors. It will be starting a little bit further up than some of the other competitors on the grid. And speaking of which, Eric Mickey, he's going to be going to the back of the order, and we saw him. He worked pretty well through traffic, started in, I think, 10th or 11th in the first race, moved all the way up to 5th place by the time it was all over.
So Robert Elder in the 117, another driver that I think we've seen in seasons past be super competitive. Are they set up for a photo op or something down here? It looks like they're...
I think they're trying. They got 45 seconds to do it.
They have a great angle on this.
The other one? There's 3.
I really wish I had a better camera for this, but I don't. This is just a weird spot on the track.
Yeah. Sorry, didn't anticipate.
I didn't anticipate this either. It's just such a weird spot on the track.
They're missing one.
What are they missing?
Ryan? Maybe?
Oh, Ryan's there. There we go. That's as good as we can do. Photo opportunity for the team.
-1.
Probably a persisting yellow flag down there at turn 2 right now.
Elder, Ryan. And
I don't think you're missing anybody. Oh, Hefner. No, Hefner.
Yeah, Hefner.
Nope.
Yeah.
That's who it is.
I
I guess not. All right, well, checkered flag for the warm-up, and we'll head out to the racetrack one more time before we head back down to show you the starting lineup for race 2. And track conditions for this second race going to be 76 in the air, 102 on the racetrack, a little bit toasty out there. Oh, never mind, just jump back down to 79, so that changes things quite a bit. 30-degree track temp swing, partly cloudy skies, again, an evening race. We'll be contesting this in. Down to the starting lineup in here in just a moment, but I can tell you one thing, it's going to be certainly a really interesting race start. Here we go. On the front row for race number 2, Ray Huang in the number 6. Will be on the inside of the front row. Carter Kundinger flipped over wildly at the bus stop exit. He'll try again, second tonight.
Yeah, he's going to have a nice starting spot to do that. So Teague Alge, another driver looking for some redemption, going to be starting up in 3rd place next to Brandon Blackford in the 013 car, rounding out row 2.
Row 3, John Stuplich in the 76, and Daniel Manzano in the 987. He'll roll out P6. Is there word on Christian Ost? Yes, he's going to be starting dead last because he missed race 1, so he will be starting P25 this evening. So we'll let the rest of these scroll along the bottom of the screen now that we're out of order here. But Christian Ost will be starting all the way at the tail in his Get Wrecked Racing NVIDIA-sponsored car.
He lost someone because there was 25 in race number 1, so someone didn't want to come back.
And it's hard to tell, hard to know, just by looking. Paul Darling's here. He's rolling off right in front.
Paul Darling's here. He's looking to gain a lot of points from tonight. He can get a decent finish in race number 2, which should be starting to find himself up the order.
So, the risk. Race 1, we had a very clean start. No troubles on the opening couple laps. Then we got to lap 3 and 4, and that's when things started getting messy. Do you think we're going to have the same luck this time around? Also, I should mention Ray Huang did not take the grid. Teague Alge will move forward and take the pole.
Yeah, I was just about to say that that was the case. So.
And J.D. Snyder also did not grid. So a couple drivers electing to maybe start from the pits here.
Yeah, maybe they smell some blood in the water. Typically, we see race 2 to be the race with the most incidents.
Well, because you're flipping everybody backwards. It's
Yeah.
the slower guys up front, fastest guys out back, and maybe a couple exceptions for drivers that had incidents.
Yeah, so, and that typically puts the field in chaos with some of the faster guys trying to move as many positions as possible in a very short amount of time. If this was an hour race, I don't think we would see much of a problem because guys would have time. It's a 15-minute sprint, so you don't really have a lot of time to kind of sit and wait around. You have to go as soon as you can to try to make up as many orders as possible, especially if you're Paul Darling starting pretty much dead last.
Into the carousel. Again, this is a great opportunity to set up a pass because it's easy to mess this corner up. There's so many different ways you can line this corner up and so many different apexes you can take. Early, late, kind of in the middle. But however you take it kind of depends on your driving style, and it sets you up for a pass in turn number 6 down the hill through the forest, down into the boot. Well, hazy out here. Humidity is quite high this evening. And 25 drivers. Looks like JD Snyder did jump on the grid now, so he'll be in starting from the pits. Ray Huang still has not. So Snyder just fired up his car. He's going to wait for the green flag to drop. Good, you look confused.
No, I heard someone. It sounded like someone was burning fuel. I heard like someone like high on the revs.
Yeah, it could be. Maybe they decided. I mean, I don't really think it's going to matter fuel because everyone's got the same tank. Maybe they're just trying to get a little bit of an advantage, but I don't see how you're going to burn enough in one pace lap to make that worth it. But maybe they'll try. Who knows?
Who knows? Huntinger though will be technically actually Teague Algae.
Yeah, Teague Algae will officially be pole. I think he's just waiting to line up properly. Again, when a driver doesn't grid, the entire row moves forward. They don't start swapping back and forth. So we'll see Algae be the leader at the start-finish line here.
It looks like he's giving it to Huntinger.
Yeah, he might. I mean, there's no reason why he isn't allowed to. I just don't see why you would. I'd want to be leading all the way down to turn 1, especially because turn 1 is going to be such a mess, potentially, if drivers get aggressive, which is what we've seen in the past here at Watkins Glen. The 90 Calamity Corner, it's got a lot of runoff for a reason, we'll just say that. Pace cars off, 15 minutes on the board for Ferrari Challenge, race number 2. Green flag flies, and we're racing again at the Glen.
Huntinger though lead the field down to turn 1, 3 wide, 4 wide almost. Yeah. It seems in the middle of the pack.
I don't see how this is going to work out, and there's a little bit of contact.
Yeah, a little bit of rubbing, but no incident so far through turn 1.
JD Snyder leaves his pit box. He's good. Oh, there's no way that's going to work. 2 and 3 wide, and then towards the tail of the field, up through the S's. Will we get through here without any incidents?
We do.
Wow, impressive.
Still not done yet. Into the bus stop, and this is pretty much single file. You can see still these guys double file toward the back.
And I was expecting to see some bumper cars back here. No, again, race starts have been phenomenal, but how long will it last?
Yeah, we'll definitely keep an eye on that and see how long indeed it does last. As Huntinger still in the lead, Blackford in second, Algae, Hefner, and Manzano.
Quite the race for last place right now. Look at all these guys. And Paul Darling has gone nowhere. I think he's just being careful right now, waiting for the carnage to happen. And we got it. Paul Van Loon.
Oh.
No, cars around.
Oh, and actually,
wow, saved it.
Big of a day. Oh,
still pushing and jumping. Trying to see what car that was. I think it wasn't Shabelsky. It was Jonathan Rodriguez in the 27.
He went for a little bit of a loop.
Just did a 360 and got back rolling again. This is going to be tight. You see Drew Lidke on the outside of
3 wide.
3 wide. That's Kurt Crum on the outside, and they somehow did that too.
Yeah, this is my worry about Paul Darling is him being a little bit too cautious. This is really kind of a point where you need to start pushing.
Yeah, but it's so risk versus reward. I mean, yeah, if he pushed super hard, he might be able to grab some positions, but you put yourself in a super high risk as Vostrel runs wide in turn 10. Because this first lap is very high risk. Once you, more contact. Once you get a couple laps in, now you can start picking drivers off, but your chance to win the race is gone.
Yeah.
And now we're going to see Darling maybe take a look to the inside. That was Brian Sohn, he just got by.
Okay, he's going to have a lane on the Cougar, it seems. He's side by side with his teammate Robert Elder in front of him.
It's all at the tail of the field. We're going to jump up to the front. Van Loon was wrecked out of race 1. He'll have an opportunity to run top 5 in race 2. A solid start. Now jump back to the middle of the field. Thomas Fredericks in the 32. Car wiggling back there. Is that a Royan? No, it's DeCousier. wiggling and wobbling into the bus stop.
You're up in front, starting to pull to a 2-second lead over Blackford.
Yeah, he's got a really solid start. Blackford still holding on to P2. Car around. Oh, no! Big one at the exit of turn 6. Cars scattering, and Teague Algae is in this one as well. I think we've actually managed to...
Yeah, there was enough.
Oh,
gap.
no, another one around.
Oast.
Oast in the 157 has spun. And looks like all the drama's over for now. See what happened down here into turn 6. It was Teague Algae all by himself. Did he just loop it? Oh, it was in front of him.
The Lightning McQueen sponsored car.
I'm trying to see what car that is. It's the 11 of Roger Gregory.
He was the guy who I saw spin in the final turn in race number 1.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, so he just gets loose, and unfortunately for his, I think that's Andrew Mickey,
Yeah.
nowhere for him to go. And then on the outside, wow, Robert Rattray took a big hit to the outside fence. And then Christian Oast, another secondary crash back here. I think that's Eric Mickey involved in that one. So both Mickeys involved in collisions.
Yeah, that's a really bad place to have a wreck because guys are just coming to their blind. They know there's a yellow flag, but they have absolutely no idea what awaits them until they get to the corner.
And that's put a huge spread. You see Thomas Fredericks around in turn 1.
He's run pretty well so far. I think just same sort of incident. Threw it in too hard to the corner and around he went. Lead to spin.
So that put a big gap to behind our 5th place driver, Paul Van Loan. So the top 5 have kind of broken away. There's 4 drivers together, 2nd through 5th.
Yeah, it's pretty much a battle for 2nd now. I don't think these guys can really make a whole lot on Kundinger. As you see Peter Bostrel in the 404 off the track, dropping down to 16th and potentially more as Eric Mickey comes to.
Yeah. He's had an off down in the bus stop. Kundinger just running away from it. How about for 3rd? Manzano's taking 2nd place away, but Blackford back down the inside. Van Loan around the outside of the toe. And Stuplich trying to hang tight against the curb.
Yeah, I can see these guys getting a little bit more crazier because now a lot of the guys up the front runners of this field were kind of held up by that last incident, so they got a decent gap to fight amongst themselves.
I think Stuplich has lost connection internet-wise, and he's going to drop down the order. That's unfortunate for him. Paul Darling up to 13th. Oh, lock up in front. Oh, that is Stuplich right there. I think he just stopped because the connection was poor. Darling now up to 12th as he continues his climb. Again, all about being careful.
Yeah, and it still has a few cars to pass up ahead. However, his competitor, Jonathan McCuger up in 10th place. So, depending on how much further ahead McCuger finishes, he can end up starting ahead of Darling in race number 3.
This is for 3rd, Blackford and Van Loan down into turn number 1. Nice clean pass. Van Loan moves into P3.
An easy one for Van Loan now. He's going to send a sight on Manzano up ahead, and this is going to be a bit of a tall order. He's got about 2.7 seconds to close in about 9 minutes.
So Andrew Mickey and Kurt Crum are now together. This is for 6th place. They're battling right behind Hefner, who's in P5. And a run to the outside. Mickey's going to swing to driver's left. Whoa. All the way out to the grass. Oh, contact there for a moment. Dicey. Into the bus stop.
Oh, well, it worked. It slowed Hefner down enough for him to make the pass.
Got the pass done. Well done by Andrew Mickey. An aggressive move, but paid off.
Looking behind him, Kurt Crum, Brian Chabelski, Jeffrey Boyne, and Jonathan Kuja, the rest of your top 10.
Now Paul Darling in 11th. Trying to catch up to the tail of this field. And really, Paul Darling is racing Jonathan DeCouger.
Yeah, and actually, we pretty much also racing Kurt Crum, too, because Kurt finished pretty well in
3rd.
Yeah.
In race 1.
So he's ahead of DeCouger and Darling by quite a bit. Crum up into 6th, DeCouger and Darling's 10th and 11th. You can see them all in this one train of cars.
Up front, no challenge. Kundinger's got a 5-second lead, but for 5th place, it's a great battle. Mickey, Crum, Hefner, Jabelski, Arroyo, DeCouger, Darling. And Armin Elder's not too far back. He's leading his own little train with Rodriguez, Sohn, Mickey, and more.
I'm curious actually going back up to the front with Andrew Mickey leading that train of cars. I'm curious if he's going to let his teammate on by.
I don't see why he would. Still early in the season, I don't think we're really determined. I mean, Kurt Crum might be faster on a weekly basis, but there's no reason why Mickey should be pulling over this early in the season. When we get down to the last couple races, sure, but right now, I'd say race.
If he does, Kurt's got a run on him down on the front straightaway. He's going to have a look down here into turn 1.
He's not going to defend it, I'll tell you that. Into turn 1, and behind him!
Chabelski gets into believe that is
Hefner's around.
Ah.
That was a wild accident. They must have had contact before they got to the braking zone.
Either that or Chwelski just sent it in way too hot.
I can't believe that he'd make a mistake that bad. Oh, he got drilled from behind.
That was DeCouger that hit him.
Oh, man.
Either DeCouger or Royan.
It was DeCouger, no.
Royan then.
Yeah, it was a Royan off the bumper. And completely cleared out. That was just a huge miscalculation. Let's run on board again. Oh yeah, just miscalculated that enough, and that was a big wreck.
And unintentionally took out his teammate as well, so Hefner is going to be a little bit dissatisfied.
That was a really big mistake for Royan. And for Chwelski, it's going to be a disappointing end to that race. That car is pretty much destroyed. Hundinger out front, taking advantage of the pole position tonight.
Yeah, completely unmatched by anyone else. Manzano is 5 seconds back, and then it's another 2.8 seconds back to Paul Van Loon. There you see him coming out of the boot right there.
And Van Loon is the driver I think you picked after race 1 to win this race based on his starting position. He's got pace, just not quite as good as Hundinger and Manzano.
I think he got held up by some slower guys that were up ahead of him and just wasn't able to get around them fast enough, and Hundinger took advantage. And Hundinger too, I think we were kind of sleeping on him. Really had some solid pace, just unfortunate luck in race 1.
I had solid pace last week at Daytona too, just had the bad luck to go with it. Paul Darling, look at this, 23rd to 8th, and we still have 6 minutes to go.
I am curious on how the order is going to be shuffled out between Darling, DeCouger, and Crump. Crump's 2-3 places up from DeCouger, Darling.
So we're hearing that Stuplich had hardware issues tonight, Fidian. So that is why he had issues and pulled off to the side. Here's Darling on DeCouger. This is for 7th place.
Who's going to give? Someone's got to. And it looks like it's going to be DeCouger that'll yield.
It's really hard to beat Paul Darling into a corner. Reminder that if you're watching behind the stream, there is the full, just the normal race stream on another link on the same channel. So make sure you're watching the full stream if you want to watch it as if you're on or as it was on TV. Behind the stream is just that extra little thing, just for those who've been around for a little while. So 4 minutes and 50 seconds left now, and we've already talked about Hundinger just driving away from the field, but how about Brennan Blackford in the 0-1-3? Maybe it's surprising us. He ended up getting kind of caught out in an incident in race 1, but tonight he has done a really good job of just holding serve this evening.
Yeah, and again, just running decent laps, not setting the world on fire, but again, just decent laps to keep himself in a spot up toward the front. I just realized also he's running Kevin Harvick's paint scheme.
Oh, yes. The wasn't that the millennial one?
Yep.
Yeah. Turned left. He did very much turn left. He's going to turn right here as he comes to turn 11. Andrew Mickey under attack from Paul Darling. Now, how do you hang on? Do you defend this or do you just let him by? I mean, is it too little to gain?
I mean, I think he's going to try to hold on as much as he can. I mean, he might as well fight for it, especially late in a race like this. 4 minutes left.
And he's going to go defensive down the front straightaway. Darling swings back to driver's left into the braking zone hard for turn 1. And Paul Darling's going to cross him right over. Expert move there. And that's the sign of a veteran right there, just setting him up. Corner exit. It's so hard in turn 1 to not run wide if you go defensive, just the way the corner's laid out.
He's going to slot himself a line in the draft of Darling as we look back at Jonathan Rodriguez.
He's just got passed by Eric Mickey. They were side by side for a moment through the S's. Now back up to Darling, Mickey, and Jonathan DeCouger. Pack of 3 into the bus stop.
And all nose to tail really close to each other.
They brought the teammates DeCouger and Elder into the fight. And Arroyan. There's actually a trio of them all together. And all frothing at the mouth to get a couple more positions before this race is over.
3 of the Turn Racing Sim Tools cards right there in frame, the white, red, and yellow teams.
And Mickey continues to drop down the order as cars filter on through, door to door into the toe of the boot.
He's trying to nail the run off of the toe of the boot. Now he's going to have a run down to the heel. There he goes with a look on the 86.
Into the braking zone now. You're going to jump on the ABS. And pass complete, nice and clean for DeCouger. Mickey back to 8th. And Elder and Arroyan weren't quite close enough to capitalize on that.
Now in the final corner, it looks like this. Still going to have 2 left. Now we're going to have 2 left to go.
Yep. So Carter Kundinger 6 seconds up the road from Daniel Manzano. Paul Van Loan is third, then it's 4 seconds back to Blackford, a couple 1 second back to Kurt Crum, and Paul Darling almost got in the grass at corner exit, almost got himself in the fence. Elder and Mickey battling for 8th. Mickey, a bit of a shallow entry. He's going to end up running a little bit wide on exit. Oh, there's a car around. Oh, it's Manzano, second place car. He's in the fence in turn 1.
Oh, that's unfortunate. I only had to survive 2 more laps and would have had a top 3 finish on the podium.
Tequila Padron car spun around, and how did he get himself in this situation? I'm going to guess overcooking it. So
the tire
easy to do.
tracks tell a story.
It's so hard in this corner to lean on these cars and to trust it. Just a little bit too much.
And back end slowly came around, and nothing you can do once that happens.
Well, the traction control really makes that difficult to save. I mean, it's...
which is the opposite of what it should do.
Right.
Ironic. Whoa, speaking of which...
Whoa, Blackford way out line, and Kirk Crum's doing... Was there contact there, or am I just going crazy?
He just got... I think sent it in too far and was offline.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wow.
Just came around on him.
Almost looked like a brake bias issue there. Nice catch, though, for Blackford. He'll jump back to 4th. He was 4th before, mostly had 3rd for a minute, and here comes Paul Darling now.
Yeah, I always find it funny the way traction control works in iRacing. It's almost a disadvantage.
Yeah, well, no, it is, and that's one of the discussions that has been, had lately, is how much better other sims, like is that of course Competizione, do the traction control and anti-lock braking systems. iRacing's always seemed like they're really hurting you more than they're helping.
And look at that run that Darling got out of the corner. Great job there.
And that was one of the frustrations Darling had last week at Daytona, was he couldn't get the feel for the ABS in this car. He couldn't understand how it was catching the car. It didn't feel natural. Again, these cars are on the older tire models. That might have something... Oh, he's in the fence! Paul Darling hard in the wall at the exit of turn 11, and he's going to have to give up some time here.
He's got to limp around one more lap, depending on how much damage that car has. He took a good amount of tire barrier there.
That was a pretty heavy impact. It doesn't look like it's damaged the car too much. This will be the last lap. White flag in the air for Carter Kundinger, side by side through the S's with Blackford and Darling. This is a risky maneuver here.
Yeah, I think he's going to have to back out of this and get back in line, but now here comes D'Coucher with a head full of steam.
Head of steam? Head full of steam? That made me laugh. A head full of steam. Into the braking zone for the bus stop. Darling slots in between. He's wide though.
Get it done, but Darling he's starting to lose time now to Blackford up ahead.
Yeah.
Blackford's still holding on for 4th place.
I'm thinking there is definitely some steering damage on this 155. You got that tire barrier pretty hard, and those are not very forgiving when it comes to bending suspension.
Whoa,
great run out of 6 towards turn 7. Backed out again. Oh, D'Coucher took a look up the inside. Door got slammed shut, and now we'll run down towards turn 8. There is barely a car width, and Darling will make it fit.
Yeah, I'm surprised actually Blackford didn't try to defend that line more. He kind of gave the line to Darling, and now here they go side by side. Almost contact.
Around the outside, Darling sneaks away 4th position. Well done. Blackford back. Can't do it. Kundinger comes out of turn 11, and from pole to 1st at the end of the race, he'll get it done. Paul Van Loan in 2nd place. Kurt Crum 3rd. Darling 4th, but for 5th, still hotly contending. No, they get together! And hard into the tire barrier.
Oh, and D'Coucher also as well. And he's going to get passed by his teammates and fall back in 8th place.
Oh, man. And that car is totaled. And Blackford will have to limp it back. And can he stay on the top 10? I don't think so, because here comes Brian Sonnen, and I am that. And across the line, crooked. Not going to make it.
Oh, no, there
across
he goes.
the line on his lid.
Oh.
That was, I think, Peter Vostrol working his way up underneath. Let's go back and see what happened here, but this was certainly one of those situations you don't want to see coming back to the checkers. This is the 39 at
Yeah, he's got loose in front of D'Coucher. D'Coucher had nowhere to go.
Yeah, it's really a bad situation. Take another look again. See the Blackford just going to get through turn 10, and you're going to see the car bobble, and D'Coucher, and in this moment, yeah, D'Coucher didn't do anything wrong there, just bad timing. And watch this impact. Wow. What a hit for Brandon Blackford. Here's a look at your race results. Carter Kundinger. Oh, no. Ray Huang. I don't know Ray. That's interesting. Never seen that before.
What?
Ray Huang scored his first also with Carter Kundinger. Never seen that. Carter Kundinger is the winner. Ray Huang never started the race. He's down in 25th. Dead last. Hoosier finishes 12th after the calamity with the 013 of Blackford in the final corner. But again, a very impressive clean start. And then they got to lap 3 or 4, and that's where things started to go wrong.
And we'll see how now with the finishing order the way it is, how they're going to line up. I think definitely DeCouche is going to be end up further down the order than we would have thought lining up for race 3. He's set up for a good finish now, but yeah, he's going to have to bounce back a little bit.
We'll take a short break. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. Stay with us. We'll be back in about 5 to 8 minutes, so hang tight.
Would you like to have a career in racing, and if so, what would you like to do, Dale?
Well, I want to be a race car driver someday. It's all I've ever known, racing.
What did you want to be when you grew up? So many people live a life of what if. Go to school. Go to college. Get a 9-to-5. This is how we support our dreams. With a safety net. Because we're unsure about taking a leap of faith. Because we're afraid. As we grow, we cross things off our list of dreams. We cut them down, make them realistic. Having control of things is reassuring. But for some, the rush of being out of control is what gives them life. Some say racing cars is reckless. Maybe they're right. Out of bounds isn't just cheating, it's cheating death. Football fields made up in seconds. Decisions made in instants. For the people that climb behind the wheel of these cars, they're not driving it. They become part of it. It's an extension of the body. As a child, I looked up to these people, faces hidden by helmets. The less you saw of the driver, the more believable it became that they were, in fact, just part of the machine. It's easy to forget that inside the cockpit is someone just like us, but with the mindset that fear is a motivation, not a barrier. But the reality is, race car drivers are not like us. They never cross anything off their list of dreams. They just keep writing more. Daytona.
Come to the line. This is the finish of the Daytona 500. Side by side.
Le Mans. Indianapolis. Monaco. Places that used to be just places, now international symbols of victory. To those that enjoy the spectacle of racing, the 2 feet of concrete and steel cables are a wall between us and them, between sitting in the grandstands and standing in victory lane. These same walls are a stark, immovable reminder that racing drivers put their lives on the line for the sake of the thrill and entertainment. Despite the risk, despite the heartbreak, despite the cost. There are some on the sidelines who are fascinated by the danger. They are fascinated by speed, fascinated by the undying desire to be just a little bit better. Their dreams erased by geography, finances, or the lack of a famous last name. There are some who once wished to be a race car driver, but aren't, because they didn't get the chance. And they thought they'd spend the rest of their lives watching their heroes on television, or from the other side of the fence. They thought it was impossible to climb into a race car, so they crossed it off their list. But it's not impossible. There is a ticket to the other side of the fence. For those who want it bad enough, this is your chance.
Welcome back to SCRS Ferrari Challenge, race number 3 of round 2. And sorry about the wait. There was a little bit of a scoring mishap for one of the drivers, so it took him a little bit longer to get the session up and running. 15 minutes is the final race of the night, as the first 2 were. We've seen plenty of really exciting action, but the starts of these races have been decidedly too calm. Is race 3 where it all goes haywire?
Yeah, we'll definitely see what's going to occur here, especially once we get the final starting order for this race said and done. We're looking at drivers working through the bus stop now. Currently, Paul Darling, no surprise there on the top of the timesheets in warm-up.
So we're just waiting for Wimmer to complete here before we turn them loose. We're missing also a bunch of cars. I think we're missing about 5 or 6 of them. Or maybe not quite that many, but a few. Maybe some had to go, but a little bit extra wait tonight to get the order sorted. Basically what happened was a driver received a drive-through penalty that ended up turning into a stop-and-go that was way longer than it should have been, so they were trying to reposition him where he should have been for points purposes. So now that that's sorted out, I've been really encouraged by the starts of these races, as I mentioned before, but it's been kind of going haywire for middle of the field towards lap 3, lap 4. Why do you think it's waiting a little while to kind of manifest itself?
I think really all what's happening is that, with everyone getting through the first lap all right, everyone's still pretty close together, and then you just have one driver make an error, making a mistake, and then it piles up all the drivers in behind, because most of the guys are still running nose to tail at that point. And a lot of them have nowhere to go, and then we see a bigger incident than probably otherwise would be, just due to everyone being so close together still.
Paul Darling, is he the man to beat for race 3? I would certainly say that he is. Jonathan DeCougers may be a dark horse in all this, but Paul Darling's been really, really fast tonight.
Yeah, DeCougers also going to be starting after his incident with Blackford in the last race. He's going to be starting a little bit further down the order than he would probably like. Probably around 5th, I would say, maybe a little bit more, but it's going to kind of dampen his shots at trying to get the win.
I have to laugh a little bit at the age of this racetrack scan. There's a lot of things that are outdated here, but how about the Kodak logo on the pit wall?
The funny thing is it says the official imaging partner in NASCAR and has the current logo.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they remember to change that
I can
logo.
promise you that Kodak has not spent $1 at Watkins Glen International since they went bankrupt like 10 years ago. So, man, that's just a little bit funny throwback there. A lot of the signage has gotten updated. Some of it has not.
That being one of them.
And you mentioned the NASCAR logo. I'm pretty sure because they replaced those all procedurally.
Oh.
And then all the ones that were custom to the racetrack are still around. So, racing time for the 3rd time and the final time tonight. And Paul Darling and Kurt Crum will share the front row. Jeff Arroyo, Jonathan DeCouger, 3rd and 4th. That is a hard-hitting front group of drivers, Finian. Paul Darling's been good, but I think Crum might be able to keep up with him if he gets a good start.
Yeah, it actually looks like it looks like DeCouger didn't get as bad of a hit to his starting position as we would have thought, as he's going to be lining up in 4th.
So the starting order is rolling across the bottom of your screen. Track conditions for this round, a little bit warmer than they were before. 80 degrees, 82 on the racetrack. And I don't think the track conditions are going to really change a whole lot. It's been pretty constant tonight.
Yeah, I definitely don't think. I think if anything, it might be a little bit slipperier.
More slippery.
Yeah.
Yes. More slippery.
So I think guys might have to worry about, making sure that they're not pushing too hard into some of these corners, especially in entry. We already saw some guys slide around quite a bit on entry, so I think they might have to be just a little bit more careful when it comes to that.
Again, SCRS Ferrari Challenge is brought to you by Penguin RC Simulation Sim Racing Hardware at a great cost. You can check out the link in the video description to check out what Penguin RC Simulation has. They got all sorts of fun products on there, especially they got paddle shifter equipment. I know that Brian works very closely with Peter Vostrel, who is the inventor and creator of the iFlag flagging system.
Now you can see it on the hood, or it's
or
on the roof of the car.
And then basically what that is an Arduino-powered LED array that basically shows you it's basically a display that shows you the flags that are happening at the time. And it also does left side, right side, and some other nifty features. So it's a really cool system to build, and Peter's actually uploaded the instructions for free. And the software is downloadable for free as well. So make sure you check out the iFlag system for iRacing, because it is a truly transcendental way to check out the flags. Because I always found the flags in iRacing so unobtrusive that they're actually hard to, they don't grab your eye very quickly. Especially if you don't have a keyboard that's got the flashy on it.
Yeah.
To have a big display that lights up yellow when the caution flag comes out, that's usually really helpful.
Yeah, actually, the funny thing you say that too is I didn't realize really until I go back to my own system and I'm doing the broadcast is that I've noticed that your keyword is actually probably, for me at least, is the main indicator that a caution's out.
Yep.
Because otherwise I don't really notice it.
Now, the other thing about the iFlag, I actually have one. It's in my closet. I do. I built one. I stole off Joel's simulator when I took it down when his dad moved out. I took the sim apart, got the iFlag out. I'll show you. Have you seen it yet?
No.
I'll have to show it to you before you go to bed. The only reason I don't have it installed is because it doesn't seem to work very well in spectator mode.
Oh.
So otherwise I would run it all the time. And I also don't have a good mount for it. I know that Christian Ost, who is in this field starting dead last, has actually designed a 3D printable mount for it, which I should probably consider building. So all in all, pretty cool features. And again, iFlag's really cool. It's pretty sick. The only thing that's a little bit challenging, I'm sure that Peter's, if you want to message Peter Vostrel, do it via the iRacing forums, but the parts are a little tricky to find. The Arduino is easy, but the shield that the LED array plugs into is a little bit challenging to find, I found. But it's pretty cool. I'll show it to you after.
Yep, I'm lining up for the start. It's going to be Paul Darling, Kurt Crum, Arroyan, DeCoucher, Elder, Mickey, Van Loan, who actually was able to gain quite a few positions after finishing in second. He's up in the 7th. Andrew, Mickey, Carter Kundinger, and Drew Lidke are top 10.
Well, the cream rises to the top. That's what they say. I'd say this is the strongest top 8 that I think top 10 that we've probably ever had for the start of a SCRS Ferrari Challenge race. Darling, Crum, Roy, and DeCoucher, all heavy hitters, and Elder, Mickey, Van Loan, Mickey, and Kundinger, as well as Drew Lidke up there as well. So it's a great mix of drivers and teams up at the front of the field. 15 minutes for the final time here from Watkins Glen. We're going to miss it for another season. Watkins Glen, New York. Here we go. The super speedway of road courses, one final time tonight. Green flag flies and we're racing again at the Glen.
These guys are 3 from 3 down in turn 1. No incidents as they head up through the S's for the final time for the
first time.
Yeah.
First final time. And through the S's, so far so good yet again. I've been so impressed with the starts, but this is not where we've seen the trouble spots be. Up for the lead, Crum on the outside, heading to the bus stop. Can they make it work? He's going to back out and run single file through there the first time through.
Yeah, I think for Crum, his agenda for this race is going to be trying to keep at pace with Paul Darling, because if he lets Darling get away, it's going to be game over. And you can see him riding right in behind the 155.
A single file stream of cars, 22 deep. And Crum is going to have a lot of work cut out for him because Darling already is starting to pull a gap 0.3 of a second now as they exit turn 6 and head to turn 7.
Here we see him pulling a little bit of a gap on Arroyan, who's sitting in third. A big dive from that is
Robert Rattray.
Yeah, Rattray moving to the inside of Kundinger. Kundinger was able to gain quite a few spots after his good finish, winning race number 2.
Thomas Fredericks taking a look there as well, but he had to back out of it. Vostrel under attack from Zachary Hefner in the 51, down on the brakes to turn 8. Pass complete. Darling inching away a couple feet at a time. It's 0.4 now. Now the question is, can Crum hang with him the next time they get to the back straightaway? That's really the true test.
They've already started to lose quite a bit of time. It's up to 0.6 as they come out of the final corner and head back to the line to complete lap 1.
Rattray and Hefner side by side. This is for 12th spot. Pass complete. Into the braking zone. Hefner right behind, and also Vostrel under attack from Brian Sohn. Teammates trading position. Whoa! And Vostrel had to bail out, trying to turn in, and his teammate was there.
Oh, that was like some echo contact. He jerked back with the wheel so hard.
It looked like it might have just been an emergency swing back to driver's way. Also, Brian Lone a little bit slow on the opening lap, a 1:49.3, and he's back in 11th after starting in 7th. Oh man, Rattray and Hefner almost made contact into the bus stop. Avoided that time. Brandon Blackford now just leaving pit lane. Not sure if there was a penalty involved there.
Yeah, maybe he had to serve one at the start. I believe he took the green flag with everyone else, but I think he might have had to serve a green flag, a black flag.
Serve a green flag? Everyone's serving the green flag right now. They're going. Shabelski and Manzano. Manzano again had that terrible incident towards the end of the race.
Yeah, I mean, it's really a gun punch to him. You know, was looking at finishing in second place with really no contest, and then just with 2 laps to go, made an error out of turn 1.
Lidke under attack from Robert Elder and Carter Kundinger in behind. That's the white and the red car, respectively. And Andrew Mickey in 6th. He's been having a really solid night tonight.
Yeah, nice to see him up here. Started in 8th, currently up into 6th, but trying to keep Lidke and Elder in mind. You can see his brother up ahead, Eric Mickey, in the 88 in 5th.
And Darling continues to inch out ahead. It's a 1-second gap now. Crum just not quite quick enough, but Jeff Arroyan has been creeping in on this number 7. I wonder if he's got a good enough car for second place tonight.
Yeah, I think he might. I mean, Arroyan, I was expecting Arroyan to do pretty well this season. Didn't really do too fantastic at Daytona. We ran an okay race, but I think here he started to flex his muscles a little bit.
Oh, Van Loon way out wide at the exit of turn 1, and that's probably a pretty tricky spot to avoid the off tracks that you're trying to miss tonight. It's so inviting to run out wide at track out. How about this 4-car fight? Andrew Mickey, Lidke, Elder, and Kundinger. 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th.
Yeah, here goes Lidke now, and where's the rest of these guys been going behind? Kundinger now making a move.
Oh, and they're going to run side by side to the bus stop. Meanwhile, Arroyan has gone to 2nd, ahead of Kurt Crum. So that pass has been made.
Yeah, and Elder now to the inside of Kundinger. Kundinger trying to work around the outside of Fredericks, sitting in behind, just waiting to see what happens with this group.
Maybe a dive up the inside on Elder. Door opens. He's got the car in there. Will Elder turn in?
Whoa.
So that was about as much as you could turn out in on without having contact.
And Elder's going to defend the spot from him.
I don't know if we're done with 2nd yet either. Kurt Crum trying to build a run back on Jeff Arroyan. They've lost a 2.5 seconds to Darling. He's just checked out and making up for all the time and points that he lost last week at Daytona.
And Arroyan trying to get up and chase down Paul Darling. Get to see a driver be able to do so.
Yeah, Darling's just been on a league of his own tonight. Elder in 9th. Fredericks, Van Loon, Hefner, Rattray in this next group. Can anybody run down Paul Darling? Michigan driver in the 488 GT3 tonight, the number 155. And he's got a pedigree behind him in iRacing. Think back to last year, the SCCA held an officially sanctioned Spec Racer Ford Series over the summer. He ended up going out and winning that straight up, and he is a frequent competitor in the Washington, D.C. region SCCA iRacing League as well as Grid Life iRacers, and is a usual regular winner in both. Kundinger and Elder going back at it on the back straight for 8th.
Yeah, and Elder now trying to make a move. Kundinger going defensive into the bus stop.
Is this going to work out? Brakes. Elder has to back out. He's a little bit offline, and Frederick sees the opportunity, closes right in towards the carousel.
And now it's opened up the door for Van Loon, who's trying to have a look up the inside, but he's going to have to back out.
And behind Van Loon is Hefner, but look at Fredericks down to the inside, trying to get into Elder, and can't complete the pass again. And there's a bit of a gap starting to build to Kundinger up ahead. Oh, big block by Elder into the toe.
Yeah, that's backed up these guys. Now Van Loon, and also here comes Hefner. We're trying to rock it around the outside of Van Loon.
We've had no major... Oh, as I say that, they're going to get together on the straightaway. A little bit of rubbing, but I was going to just mention Peter Vostrel. I was about to say we had no incidents, but Vostrel has had one. He just ran out wide at the exit of turn 6. And while that was happening, Van Loon, watch this. This is at the exit of the corner.
A little bit of argy-bargy between these guys.
Oh, wow, it was almost really bad. They did get it sorted. Now it's Fredericks. Oh, man.
And again, Hefner's got the pace, is not the luck in this round of the championship. He's been working through guys around midfield.
Up front, nobody challenging Darling just yet. Arroyan second, 1.9 back. Then Kurt Crum, another second back from that. DeCouger, Mickey, Andrew Mickey.
Yeah, DeGuger 3/10 up on Kurt Crum last lap, so he's looking to potentially get himself inside the top 3 for this race.
And 3-car fight. Mickey leads it onto the back straightaway.
Mickey, we know he's really... Andrew Mickey, we know that he's really good at defending and keeping guys in behind him. Leakey trying to work around him as well as Kundinger. Here they go into the bus stop. Leakey going to back out
big
way.
dive! That was an incredible pass. That was a teammate there, so maybe there was a little bit of a let-you-go moment. But otherwise, that was a spectacular maneuver. Jabelski ended up crashed last race. Towards the tail of the field, trying to work back.
Yeah,
oh, Jeff Arroyan, sorry to interrupt you. Jeff Arroyan has had an issue, and he's going to drop down the order.
Running up in second place is only going to drop back to 4th.
This is down in 6th and just got loose. Big slide and did hang on to it.
Save.
He did lose a couple positions in the process. Right back in the thick of it with his teammate.
Yeah, I think the Goose are going to do him a favor here. It's currently the Turn Racing cars versus Bombshell.
Another Bombshell car against one of the Can-Am machines. That's cutting on the inside. Mickey going to try to cross over on corner exit. Very difficult corner to do that because of the big curb on the inside. Now through 10. High downforce left-hander. A little bit wide for Kundinger and Mickey. Got out almost into the grass. Oh, man. You use every inch. You see the tire barrier actually juts in. You're using every little foot that you can.
Kundinger going to try to expand his lead. Meanwhile, his teammate behind Andrew Mickey's going to look to get past him this time by. Here's Elder and Hefner teammates sitting 9th and 10th.
Can you push? Can you bump draft around here, or is that not worth doing?
Yeah, you definitely could. I don't think it's worth doing. I think if anything, you might as well use the momentum to try to make a pass. Speaking of which, here comes Elder with the run.
Lidke offset to the center of the racetrack now, cuts back to driver's left. Oh no! That almost didn't work. Great heads-up driving by Elder to back out of that.
And Lidke as well. You saw that in his mirrors.
Here's a look from on board, the 117. That would have been disastrous had they tried to complete that. So heads-up driving on both their parts. You'll live to see another race. Oh, behind him.
Different story for Hefner and Fredericks as they make some contact.
Great battles here in midfield. Haven't really had any big multi-car incidents yet.
There's always a chance for a first.
Well, less than 5 minutes to go. We're 2/3 of the way done with this race. Elder chasing Lidke off to the defensive line.
Lidke almost putting him in the grass, and now he's going to have to back off, and here comes his teammate now side by side.
Second place also in contention right now. 5 seconds behind Paul Darling, but Arroyan putting the fight back to Crum. Keep an eye on as many fights as we can. Ooh. Playing with fire there, kind of moving around so much into the braking zone. That's really not much of a... It's more of just a decel zone. You're just kind of lifting just for stability. How about Gouger? Big block on Eric Mickey down the front straight.
Yeah, Mickey now working on the outside into turn 1. Not going to have enough presence to stay alongside. Going to have to drop in behind the Gouger and build up a run.
Up the hill. 4 minutes to go. Paul Darling, no one's touching him.
Mickey got really close to the barrier there.
Oh, trouble. Christian Oss in turn 1.
This has been a round to forget for the 157.
Yeah, a track that he's actually won at before in past seasons. And it's probably a similar situation what we've seen all night, just driving in a little bit too hot, got loose and spun it around. Blue livery kind of glinting in the sunlight there.
Fortunately not glinting in the right way as he's spinning around.
Shouldn't be glinting in that direction at that point. Lidke Hefner fighting for 8th, and Robert Elder tracking out all the way to driver's right, and Hefner looked up the inside, but no hole for him to go.
Loving the team battle going on between Bombshell, Can-Am, and the Turn Racing cars all throughout the top part of the field.
I see so much patience right now. I'm just amazed it hasn't run out for some of these drivers. We have not had a multi-car crash yet. We've had a little bit of rubbing, but rubbing is racing, Finney. We've not seen a crash in this race. That would be a really, really phenomenal recovery from some incident-prone race 1 and race 2 tonight. That's kind of funny. Someone in the chat was making a joke about the Get Wrecked Racing car of Christian Ost. Yeah, an unfortunate name for sure. Hefner working over Drew Lidke. Look at the sun glinting over the trees here at Watkins Glen. Now out at turn 11. Right up next to the wall. He's in it.
Too much.
We've seen that a couple times tonight, and it has damaged race cars.
was a gentler hit than we saw Paul Darling take, although Darling was suffering from his damage. I think Hefner should be alright to continue on.
Yeah, it wasn't quite as big as Darling got it earlier. Next time by will be white flag. How about side by side through the S's? Single file back out. Fredericks drops into 11th.
I don't think it's quite done just yet. Hefner and Elder now about to go at it.
Now using the draft. These cars draft really well, but the teammates I don't think are going to battle. Here comes Fredericks up the outside. Into the braking zone. Oh, contact!
Oh.
Hard hit into the concrete.
Oh,
the
Trey also overshot, and he got into Fredericks.
Yeah. It's not concrete, it's Armco, but either way. Doesn't feel good to hit. And that was only going to end so well after he run side by side into the bus stop here. And this is 51 of Hefner, and he just kind of turns in. Wow, where Trey was sailing in there. I think, if we look at this again in a little bit slower motion, I think that Fredericks turns in here expecting the 51 to take a sharper line, but you can't just turn in here.
Yeah, I think
that was early, even with the car next to him.
I think what he was doing, I think he was following, I believe that was Elder up ahead.
Yeah.
I think he was following his line and expecting Hefner to do the same.
Yeah, momentary lapse in judgment, but it's going to cost him a lot of time. Meanwhile, out front for Paul Darling.
Second lead heading to the white flag.
Unbelievable night for Paul Darling. After what was a kind of a disastrous round 1 at Daytona.
Yeah, it was pretty mediocre round at Daytona for the 155 as to what did he expect. This is kind of more on pace of what he expected him. Maybe probably not as dominant, but still he's doing a solid job looking to get 2 wins in tonight's round. And then we go back, Kurt Crum and Roy still going at it. Mickey and DeCuja are separated out just a little bit.
Well, Robert Elder and Zachary Hefner, teammates again. They're still nose to tail. And Brian Sonda and Manzano trading spots into turn 1. Manzano crashed here last race. Manzano at this time moves himself up into 12th after starting in 15th.
Stay ahead of him. And it looks like for the most part, a lot of guys have kind of spread out, although Elder and Hefner still nose to tail down the back straightaway. I think they're going to play nice with one another.
Yeah, no reason to wreck each other at this point in the race. Into the bus stop, nice clean lines. Manzano and Sohn still chasing each other. Sohn a little bit slow at the exit of the bus stop. So as we come on through, Paul Darling is now only about a third of a lap away from picking up his 2nd win of the season and the evening. Point situation is going to shake out probably heavily in Paul Darling's favor, I'd imagine.
Yeah, he's currently coming into tonight's round. He came in 15th. It should definitely be well inside the top 10, maybe even the top 5. It really kind of depends on how this is going to finish out and if penalties are assessed to some drivers after the race.
I imagine we'll see at least a few from race 1 at the very least. But Paul Darling, the SCCA competitor and Grid Life iRacer driver, comes on through turn number 11. He's 2 for 3 tonight. He bookends it in a win with race 1 and race 3. Paul Darling wins at Watkins Glen.
Right in behind them, it's going to be Kurt Crum, then Jeffrey Roy, and then Eric Mickey and Jonathan DeCuja.
Carter Gundinger had a really good points night as well, other than a bit of an issue in race 1. Race 2 and 3 went pretty good for him.
Yeah.
6th. Single file through the rest of the field. Manzano and Sohn come across the line. 12th for the 987, 13th for Sohn.
And how about this also, too? Just kind of looking at the finishing order, the 9 out of the 10 positions in the top 10 were taken by 3 teams.
Yeah, I also have to say that every single driver finished that race, and every single driver on the lead lap. Really impressive. That was probably one of the better races that we've seen in terms of the lack
especially
of
also
issues.
considering, too, it was over 20 cars.
Yeah. 22 cars entered that race, and 22 cars finished and on the lead lap. There is your results. Darling, Crum, Roy in your podium. Mickey, DeCuja running out the rest of your top 5. Really solid racing tonight. We're not done quite yet. We're going to talk to a few drivers, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right... Oh, actually, hold on. There's a team doing a fun thing on the back straight. We're going to jump over there and catch it. There is one driver in the middle of it that shouldn't be, but everyone...
Now they got all 4 of them.
Oh, now they just split like Blue Angels. Whoa! Oh, man. Oh! All right. A little break dance there. We'll be back in just a minute. Stay with us. Welcome back live to Sim TV and SCRS Ferrari Challenge. We're here now with our race winner, race 1 and race 3 winner, Paul Darling. Paul, Daytona didn't go so hot for you, but you came up to upstate New York and absolutely put a show on. Drove away in both, really bookended the night with race victories. What changed from last week to this?
Last week it was a new car to me. The ABS was completely foreign to me and caught me out, so I knew I had to really make up for looking like a total fool last week. So I actually put a little bit of time in and paid off.
Tonight at Watkins Glen, it seemed like race 2 was kind of frantic at the race starts, but we saw some really clean race starts. Were you expecting there to be more chaos, and is that why you kind of laid back for a little bit?
In race 2?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm always expecting chaos in race 2 when you have a full inverted grid. So I was definitely taking it very easy, just trying not to get any car contacts, and paid off there, but it's definitely a conservative finish, I suppose.
Next week, we head to Summit Point. It's kind of a home track for a lot of SCCA drivers, but how do you think that these cars are going to race there? Because that seems like a little bit small for this kind of car. So are you expecting that to be a bit rougher, or do you think that'll go quite well for you?
Honestly, I have no idea. I don't think I've ever driven a GT3 car on Summit Point before, unless we did it in SCCA, but it'll be a brand new experience.
First time for everything, and Paul Darling is a first-time winner in SCRS Ferrari Challenge, race 1 and race 3 tonight. Paul, congrats. We'll see you next week.
Thank you, Kyle.
Absolutely. We move on now to who you gotta bring up here next. Jeff Roy, and finished 3rd in race number 3. Jeff, a lot of action out there tonight. Some contact, here and there, but you survived. You finished podium in race 3. Talk us through this night and the chaos, especially at the race starts.
Oh my gosh. I mean, honestly, okay, race 3, that moment where I slid, that made me forget pretty much everything about race 1 and race 2, because I thought I don't even know what to say. I mean, I haven't looked back and watched it, but in the moment, I haven't been that scared before. But I mean, I feel bad in race 2. I ended up punting Brian, and I feel bad about that. I missed my braking zone. I completely didn't pay attention to it. But yeah, I mean, I feel like I had pretty good results overall. So that was a pretty good race there.
Next week, we head to Summit Point, kind of a small track for this powerful of a race car, and very tight in that middle sector. How do you expect that to go, and do you think you'll be competitive?
I did a lot of that in the rookie season, but that was like years ago. That was probably 2 years ago. So I really personally don't know, but considering it's really tight, it's going to be a lot to do with probably racecraft and stuff like that. So I would hope that I could get, a decent position there. But I mean, we're going to have to see. So it's going to be exciting.
It'll be exciting for sure. Jeff Roy in podium in race 3. Jeff, congrats. We'll talk to you later. Have a good night.
Yep, have a good night.
And Carter Dinger in the number 02. Carter, tonight was a really good night for you, other than the race 1 collision that you had. Tonight was fun out there. A lot of action, a lot of fun racing. Walk us through your race 2 and race 3, because race 3 went quite well. You finished P6.
Oh yeah, Kyle, it was fun. I think last week you nailed it right on the head, and I think this week it probably is the same. I had another Goldilocks sort of night. The first race just really bad, and I just got caught up in a wreck, and then all of a sudden my car was doing the high jump. But then that second race, knowing that I did poorly in the first race, I started P2 in the second race, which ended up being P1 because P1 didn't show up. And basically, knowing that I was faster than the guys behind me, I just tried to just pull away and drive my tail off. And so that was the goal there. Was able to get that done, which was awesome. So got my first win in a while in a league. And then that second race, knew that I was going to start like mid-pack, and knew I had pace to stay up with those guys. So fell back a little bit, but was able to get a few spots and scavenge a 6 at the end of that.
Really solid run tonight, Carter. Next week, we head to Summit Point. Are you familiar with that racetrack? And how do you think a GT3 car is going to run around there? Because it seems a little bit tight and twisty for this sort of car.
Yeah, I mean, with Daytona, like, it was pretty wide open, and there was a lot of room to make passes and such. And then we came here to Watkins Glen, and it got a little bit tighter. Still room to make passes, but still pretty tight. And knowing Summit Point and just how tight Summit Point really is in the two-lane highway, I like to call. It is going to be interesting to say the least. There's going to be a lot of really close racing, and I can see a lot of just door banging contact during the races. So it should be interesting. I've never raced a GT3 around there, but yeah, looking forward to next week.
Nice job, Carter. We'll see you next week at Summit Point. We'll see you later. Have a good night.
Yeah, thank you, Kyle.
Absolutely. Gonna do it for the interviews tonight, and a little bit of a long evening again tonight, Finian. But we got it done. 3 races, and race 3 results again scrolling across your screen. Your thoughts after Watkins Glen? Love this place. It always puts on good action, but it seemed like it was pretty difficult to make passes tonight.
Yeah, I'm not too terribly surprised with that. There are only really few passing opportunities, really, with the this particular car. And I think if we were Indy cars, it would be a little bit of a different story. But these guys kind of follow more or less in a procession. There are a few passing opportunities, but if you miss those, it's kind of hard to get anything done other than that. But unless you have a really great difference in speed, but it's still some pretty good racing nonetheless.
Yeah, I think the hard part for GT3 racing at Watkins Glen is the ABS.
Yeah.
The braking zones here are, this is such a fast track, the braking zones are pretty short. And when you have ABS, you're just stomping the pedal to the floor. So it's very difficult to get any kind of variation to make passes. But got it done. 3 races at Watkins Glen. Next week, it'll be 3 races at Summit Point Raceway. It'll be Thursday night, 9 o'clock Eastern. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.